So, we all know AI's growth has been just explosive, right? We've all felt it changing things around us. But honestly, up until now, a lot of what we knew was based on stories and feelings. Well, a new report from Anthropic just gave us the first real, data driven look under the hood. And what it shows is a really deep and, frankly, surprising divide. Let's get into it.
Okay, get ready for this number. According to Gallup, a whopping 40% of employees in the US are now using AI at work. To put that in perspective, that's double what it was just 2 years ago. This adoption is happening faster than electricity, faster than the internet. It's not a wave, it's a technological flash flood.
But here's the thing, and this is really the whole point of what we're talking about today. This massive wave isn't lifting all boats equally, not even close. It's incredibly concentrated, and it's creating these deep, surprising divides in how we all work and, maybe more importantly, who benefits.
All right, so let's kick things off with individuals. How are people like you and me actually using AI day to day? The report gives us a great way to think about this, breaking it down into two main ideas: automation and augmentation. First up, you've got automation. The easiest way to think about this is like putting AI on autopilot. You give it a task, something like, hey, write a summary of this long report, and it just does the whole thing. There's very little back and forth. It's a total handoff. And then you've got augmentation. Now, this is totally different. This is more like having a co-pilot. You're working with the AI. You're bouncing ideas off it, refining things, asking questions. You're actually learning as you go. It's a real partnership.
Now, this is where the data gets really interesting. Just look at this trend. In only 8 months, the slice of conversations that are pure automation, that autopilot mode, jumped from 27% all the way to 39%. That is a massive shift in behavior. It tells us we're moving past just kind of poking at it and experimenting. We're starting to really delegate, to trust the results. But this trend isn't happening everywhere at the same time. It turns out it's not just how we use AI that's changing, it's where. The data paints this picture of a really stark geographic divide. It almost looks like two completely different worlds of AI adoption are forming.
When you look at the big picture, globally, AI usage is tied super closely to a country's income. Wealthy nations like Singapore and Canada are using it way more per person than emerging economies like India and Nigeria. And they're using it for different things too. The lower adoption countries, they're really focused on coding, but the high adoption spots are branching out into everything: science, education, you name it. Okay, let's bring it a little closer to home. If I asked you which US state has the most AI usage per person, what would you guess? You'd probably say California, right? I mean, Silicon Valley. It just makes sense. Well, you'd be wrong. Believe it or not, it's actually the District of Columbia. It's leading the country with usage that's nearly 4 times its population share, and right on its heels is Utah. California is a distant third. This tells us that AI adoption isn't just about the big tech hubs. It's being driven by the very specific needs of local economies, like all the legal and government work that happens in DC.
And this leads to something, well, kind of weird, a real paradox. You would think the most advanced, high-adoption AI users would be the ones automating everything in sight, but the data shows the complete opposite. It's actually the high-adoption places that use AI more collaboratively for augmentation. Meanwhile, the lower adoption regions are the ones more likely to use it for that pure, hands-off automation. Okay, so we've talked about how individuals are getting their hands on AI. But what happens when big businesses step in and start deploying it systematically, through APIs? Well, the whole picture changes dramatically.
Yeah, the difference between how you or I might use it and how a business does is just night and day. While we're split about 50-50 between collaborating and automating, businesses are overwhelmingly focused on one thing, and one thing only: automation. A huge 77% of all business API use is for automation. So when companies are integrating AI into their systems, they're not looking for a creative buddy. They're looking for a workhorse, a tool that just gets tasks done efficiently and at a massive scale. So if it's all about efficiency, you'd assume they'd just go for the cheapest tasks to automate, right? The ones that use the fewest tokens to save a few bucks? Well, the data tells a totally different story. It turns out businesses aren't all that worried about the price tag. They are consistently choosing to automate the highest value tasks, even when those tasks are more expensive to run. This tells us that capability and the actual economic payoff of getting a job done are way more important than the raw cost of the AI call itself.
So, if businesses are eager to automate these super high value tasks, what's holding them back? Well, the report calls it the context bottleneck. See, the most complex tasks need the most context. All of a company's background info, its data, its history. But for a ton of companies, just getting all that data organized, digitized, and ready to feed to an AI is a massive, massive hurdle. So, when you piece all of this together, this spotty geography, how businesses are all in on automation, this context bottleneck thing, you land on the report's single biggest takeaway. We are looking at a great AI divide.
And look, you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from the report just lays it all out plain and simple. There's a very real risk that these incredible productivity gains we're seeing from AI won't be shared equally. Instead, they could all just pile up in the hands of the wealthy countries and companies that are already ahead, basically making the rich richer and widening that global economic gap.
So, this is the so what, right? This is why all of this really, really matters. We could actually see decades of progress where the world was getting more economically equal, just reverse course. Inside companies, you might see experienced workers who know how to provide that critical context to an AI become way more valuable, while entry-level folks get left behind. A new, deeper digital divide isn't just a possibility, it's already forming, right now, based on who can get on this train first. At the end of the day, all of this data really boils down to one huge, fundamental question. We are still in the very early innings of this whole thing. The patterns that we see today, they're not destiny. The choices that policymakers, businesses, and all of us make right now are going to decide whether AI becomes this amazing tool that brings the world closer together or a force that drives us further and further apart.